Hello and welcome to episode 67 of the Critical Twits Gaming Podcast. Today we venture back to the worlds of Malifaux and we look at Henchman Hardcore. Hello, I'm Brian Ennis.
And I'm Joe Lewin.
And today we are venturing back to Malifaux for our monthly Malifaux feature here at the Critical Twits. What are we going to be looking at today, Joe?
We're looking at Henchman Hardcore, which is a variant set of rules to play even smaller skirmish games to speed up your gameplay if you haven't got time for a full 35 or 50 soulstone game.
Yeah, those of you who have been following us for a while may have noticed we've been a little bit erratic the last few weeks because life is hard and things get in the way. So actually, Henchman Hardcore was a nice way of us getting some games of Malifaux in without having to sort of dedicate a full day or several days to playing multiple games.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. We've also been using it to introduce a newer player.
Yeah, that's the other thing that it's good for, which we'll probably talk about more in a second. But yeah, you don't need as much, and it allows you to sort of break into the game a little bit easier. And we're all about getting new people involved here at the Critical Twits. So if you're looking for a way of speeding up your Malifaux game nights, or maybe squeezing in a cheeky game of Malifaux when you haven't got much time, or you're looking for something that can be maybe a little bit competitive, but not so much so that it's going to put off new players, Henchman Hardcore might be for you. We'll give you our verdict at the end once we've discussed it. So Joe, do you want to take us through how Henchman Hardcore differs to a normal game of Malifaux?
Yes, Henchman Hardcore is different from standard Malifaux in the following ways. No, I'm not just going to read the PDF.
Which is available. It's available for free.
It is
just a search for Malifaux Henchman Hardcore, or just Henchman Hardcore. We'll ping it up on Google. Other search engines are available.
Yeah, it's quite easy to find the link. I wouldn't suggest using other search engines; they're not as good.
I know.
But as far as Henchman Hardcore goes, we've got you don't use a master. You are led by a henchman.
Is that something to do with the name?
No, I think it's coincidence. To be honest.
Yeah. It's more likely to be a coincidence.
Of course, it's a bit weird.
Yeah,
but
I heard you pronounce the Y. Well done.
So the game's limited to 20 soulstones, which is a nice reduction. As with a master, you don't pay for your henchmen, and you do get their cache of soulstones. But you are limited by that. You can't use unspent soulstones to increase your cache.
Yeah, so if you don't spend all your soulstones, they just dissolve like tears in the rain.
Yes, other things as well. The crew must contain 4 models, so you can't have I don't think they exist, but you couldn't have a single 20-point model and be like, haha, fuck you guys, I'm using this thing.
Yeah.
You have to have a certain spread.
Yeah.
Which does limit your pool a little bit. You can still get a 12-point model in there, but you're going to have to take 2 4-points and no upgrades.
Yeah.
So
yeah, maybe some of the
quite a nice way.
Yeah, some of the really big nasty stuff might not make it into a game of Henchman Hardcore, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, it also keeps some of the more complicated models out as well, which is probably quite good.
Yeah.
You are allowed your upgrades as per usual. That just follows the standard rules.
Yeah, and you're not limited just to the one henchman that is your leader. You could buy in another henchman or some enforcers to give upgrades as well.
Yes. You are not allowed to summon. You are allowed to include models that do summon, but any abilities, actions, or triggers that summon models are blank.
Yes.
So even if they've got a different thing they do as well and then summon, no, none of that.
Yes, yeah. So I think that's a good idea because
yes, very much so.
It may kick the reses slightly, and most of their summonings through. I'm trying to think of non-masters that summon.
I would have instantly taken the Amazing Horse of Awesomeness.
Yes,
because it summons
your Crazy Horse of Doom.
Yeah, the Mech Rider.
Yes.
You can't. I can use the Mech Rider, but it loses out on that summon ability.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. It's not really worth 12 points anymore.
No. But part of the thing is that we are aiming for a game that is quicker, and summoning a load of models will slow that down. And probably I found that summoning is more of a problem in lower point games.
Definitely.
Because you're getting stuff for free. So as a percentage, if you're playing a 50 soulstone game and they summon in a 5, 6, 7, 8 soulstone model, it's not a huge percentage. But when you're playing 20, if they were to do that, that would be enormous.
It would. So yeah, I think it's a good rule.
Yeah.
It does mean certain people aren't useful. For example, there is 0 point. Well, I say 0 point. Miranda loses a lot of her ability and some of the stuff that makes her good because you can't sacrifice her and bring in something else.
Oh yes, yeah. So, but you know, we can work around that.
Yeah, punishing the Arcanist isn't the worst thing to do either.
No, they are very bad.
Yes, naughty Arcanist.
In a public safety kind of way.
There is only one scheme and one strategy used.
Yes.
You always play Turf War.
Yep.
Out of the core rulebook, and you also play Assassinate out of the core rulebook as well.
Yes. Now the Turf War is slightly different because it's actually hardcore Turf War because you can score victory points on the first turn.
Yes.
Which is really good because you actually start with close deployment, so you're only starting 12 inches away from your opponent. So you're fighting over that 6-inch radius in the middle of the board, that circle.
Yeah, but it's a 6-inch diameter, not 6-inch radius, I think. No, it isn't. No, it's not.
It is a radius?
It is a radius.
Yeah. So
yeah, you're the moment you're out your deployment zone,
you're straight in on the
potentially if you're in the middle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually only starting 6 inches away from the centre of the board. So the moment that you move forward, you can be, in theory, straight in on the objective.
Yeah, and that leads to the very quick, fast-paced games that this is designed for.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I mean, a normal 35 or 50 soulstone game for us normally takes us about 4 days. It takes us, what, 3 hours maybe?
Yeah,
game.
When we were able to play we had a month where we were playing almost every week, and
Yeah,
we got down to about just over that tournament time of 2 hours. But I do find Malifaux, because of its complexity, it's something that if I don't pick it up very often, and we're sort of playing once a month at the moment, it does take a little bit of time to get back into. So yeah, sort of 3 or 4 hours for a 50 soulstone game, and I enjoy that, and I don't begrudge it the time.
Oh no, not at all. But these are designed for 30-minute games.
Yeah, the tournament time for this is 30 minutes.
So
not long at all.
We would suck.
Yes, yeah.
At this.
I think it's worth just saying that this was the brainchild of the UK Malifaux scene.
Woo, go UK.
Yes, as someone...
We're using all profits from it to fund the Brexit.
Yes, yeah. And we will need your money because we will have nothing left but bunting and tears.
Possibly a small fire.
A small fire. We won't be able to afford anything more than a small fire. No. Sad. Just thinking about our sad future where Malifaux models will cost even more. Yeah, not so good, is it?
It's not.
No. Anyway, let's pretend that this isn't happening and get back to the fun of playing games.
Expensive games.
Yes. This is really bad because I thought before I was spending too much money on Malifaux. Now I look back at the past exchange rates and how much things cost and went, no, you should have bought everything before the prices went up.
Yeah, sadly.
Which is nothing to do with weird. It's just to do with our poor governance.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you disagree with our view on Brexit, we don't care. Don't contact us.
Yeah,
Oh, terrible. Cool. So here in the Critical Twits Echo Chamber, there is. We did find. I think you found earlier a variation as well that could be played.
Yeah, I've seen people suggesting that you also include a rule that you can't double up on models. So you can't include two of the same thing. So you can't include two rail workers, two metal garmin, and other Arcanist things, because that's what I play.
Yes, yeah. Well, just two of any model, really.
Yeah, well, yes.
Which would have ruined my list.
And my good one.
Yes. and the more annoying one that one of our friends played that we'll come to in a second. So although the rules are fairly restrictive, it's fairly simple, isn't it, to build your crew?
Yeah, a bit of simple maths and figuring out what you want to do. There's a lot of variation in what you can run as well.
Yes, yeah, you're not. There's pretty much most of the game models in the game are available to you. We said some of those higher point ones might be really difficult to squeeze in,
but you can do it.
But yeah, you could do it. But you also probably want some points for upgrades, especially as Assassinate is in there. You probably want to tool your henchmen up if they're not inherently survivable on their own, because they're the big target.
Yeah, definitely.
I also found models that could push or move models about, so to clear that centre of the board, were quite useful as well.
As did I.
Yeah, but you could take all sorts of different things and give it a go. Joe, then, what was the first list that you took when we were experimenting with Henchman Hardcore? I thought we'd talk our listeners through the different crews, how they worked, how other people felt playing them, maybe.
Okay, so the first thing, I was looking at a bunch of different stuff, and I wanted to play some. I wanted to play some Rasputina based things.
Yeah. I know you've played a little bit of Rasputina.
A little,
but you haven't.
I did realise that I hadn't put any of the stuff I wanted to use together yet.
Ah, right, yeah.
So that got in the way.
Yeah, it does make it trickier.
Little. So I was umming and ahhing about what to play, and in the end I just thought, do you know what? I'm just going to play the Ironsides box.
Yes.
So I took the captain and 3 Oxfordian mages.
Now I
the new upgrade.
I have a long and bitter past with these Oxfordian mages. We have history. We've got beef going back because I think they're really, really, really good.
As do I. I really like them.
But Weird recently decided that they weren't good enough and beefed them up with those free upgrades that you just mentioned.
Which made this list even better.
Yes.
So the captain isn't massively survivable on his own.
No,
but
I think he's universally seen as being a bit meh.
Yeah, but if you give him the warded runes, I think it is, defensive runes, something like that. His upgrade, the Arcanist upgrade that allows him to gain a bonus for the Oxfordian mages that are in line of sight, to be immune to conditions, get positive flips to defense, I believe, against the enemy master, the enemy leader, and regenerate, I think, is horrible.
Yeah, you had all of the synergy in the world, because the Oxfordian mages get bonus tomes to their triggers, don't they, with there's other academics nearby.
They do.
And you had them all sort of bunched together, because, yep. I mean, the nature of Henchman Hardcore is that they get bunched together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, how did they play then, this elite fighting force?
Well, I waited for one of your things to move close-ish.
Yes, yeah.
And then I used one of my mages to shoot it, getting all the triggers to move you closer.
Yeah.
So another mage could shoot it. I think it was dead by that point. The captain pushed a mage off to the side a little bit so he could then shoot some more things. And it pretty much just destroyed everything you ran, I think, really quickly.
Yes, yeah, pretty much. I don't think I've ever played a game of Malifaux so quick, or so decisively violent. Yeah, it was very, very difficult to actually be able to do anything against you. I did manage to get a few shots, cause a little bit of damage. And
but then with the upgrades now, I could discard the upgrade to stop 2 damage, and if it hasn't activated, it ignores the damage, and it kind of just went, no.
Yes, yeah.
You need to be getting a couple of big hits in to kill an Oxfordian mage.
Yeah.
That's just quite hard to do.
Yes, yeah. And I didn't have, in my particular list, access to blasts, which would have really helped with your bunching together.
They would have spread out more should there have been blasts.
But they still need to be close-ish, so I could be getting a couple of them with a couple blasts, and it would have made things slightly easier, but still very difficult. So that was really, really nasty. But we managed to come in within that half-an-hour tournament limit with our game, mostly because I died. Now, I did a little bit... like you, I picked a couple models from a box set, but then I added in some other bits. We recently had a chat with the Red Jokers Malifaux podcast, and in their next episode, you'll be able to hear us talking all about some of our favourite models, talking all about what would happen to us if we were to go to Malifaux and go through the breach, all sorts of fun things. Really looking forward to it and had a great time.
And some other things, that and other things that may not be in there because there were technical difficulties.
Oh yeah, there may be a little thing, but we talked for like 3 hours, and it was all good, so it'll be fine. So one of the things that was mentioned on there as being a really great model was the Convict Gunslinger, with their many shots, positive flips to shooting, and a little bit of toughness. And I bought those. They were one of the first sets of models I actually painted for Malifaux that I was happy with and didn't immediately paint straight back over. So it was a nice excuse to dig those out. I chucked a Ronin in with them because, again, I like the models more than anything. And I took Taylor, who, again, is a model that I really, really like and I don't get to use very often because I think she's a little bit pricey at 10 soulstones. What do you think?
A little. I mean, she hits hard.
She does hit very, very hard. Her sort of signature ability works against things that are summoned. So she wasn't maybe at her most effective in Henchman Hardcore.
No.
But she does have, when she attacks with her Relic Hammer, she can use a 2 AP action, which she can still use on a charge because she's got a bionic arm. Which does a sort of pulse and knocks enemy models backwards and does damage. And my plan was to try to push enemies away from the objective, and hopefully they were bunching up and I could do a lot of damage by using that ability. Which didn't work particularly well against you, to be honest, Joe.
No, but then my stuff kind of was throwing yours all over the board, and
yeah, it was very
really being a bit mean.
Yeah, it was very difficult to get in, but it wasn't the end of the world because it only took half an hour. If I'd have played a full 3-hour game of 50 Soulstone Malifaux that went that way, I'd have maybe been a bit more cranky. But as it was, it was over. We flipped some cards. We had some fun, and it was all right. One of the things that one of our friends, friend of podcast Rob, you can hear him in our very first ever Malifaux review, chatting away with us. He was there and he was playing what I thought was a really horrible list. What did you make of his list, Joe?
It was very, very good at denial.
Yes.
I don't know.
The thing that got...
I think...
Oh, sorry.
think it's a little bit slow going for a tournament setting, but it was quite fun to play again.
Yeah, it was a really interesting idea. So again, there was a theme to his list. He took Bad Juju, the Swamp Fiend, and he took the upgrade that meant that instead of being killed, Bad Juju is buried and then comes back when another Swamp Fiend dies. So to back that up, he took 3 Woldgeists, which are really, really good at, as you say, at area denial. They create their own terrain and then get a 4-inch engagement range. And they ran at me really, really early on and kind of pinned me right at the back of the scoring area. And I got into a weird situation where I couldn't kill Bad Juju. I killed Bad Juju and he was out the game. But if I killed any of the Woldgeists, he came back.
So,
and he's quite nasty.
Yeah, I think I did the same. But I spent the rest of the game pushing things away, being like, no, go, which worked. But it was a nice themed list that he came up with before he realised the rules and was like, oh, everything fits.
Yes, yeah.
and then was quite effective. So fair play to him.
Yeah, definitely. So we played a few games. We sort of played around with different bits and pieces. There are all sorts of good ideas. Did you tried something else as well, didn't you, Joe? Not against me, but you did try a different list. Or did you? Did you not?
I did, but I can't remember what I ran. No, I've not got a clue.
We can. Are there any ideas that you've had for other Henchman Hardcore lists since we had our lovely evening? It was really nice to have that evening, actually, just as an aside, because we got to play everyone that was there. Quite often we'll get together for an evening of Malifaux and maybe get 1 or 2 games in maximum, whereas this time we were able to play, sort of twice that. Not every game stuck to that half an hour. We did have some that were sort of looking at an hour. But that's relaxed play, isn't it? Where you're talking and you're chatting.
Yeah.
And, maybe thinking about what you're doing more than you would if you're on a time limit. But yeah, have you had any thoughts?
Not really. I've not considered Malifaux for a bit. I've been focusing on other things, but I have been having a look at some other lists that some other people suggest.
Cool. What did any of those catch your eye then?
One of the Arcanist ones is kind of mean.
Yeah.
Which is Joss, obviously.
I thought it might have Joss.
Yep. 2 Metal Garmin.
Yep.
And Howard.
Yeah.
No upgrades, but mean.
That's really that's a brute. I mean, the Metal Garmin are just really there to make up points, but that combo of Joss and Howard
could be pretty mean.
It's standard Arcanist nastiness, isn't it?
Yeah. There's one that looks interesting, but obviously I don't play, so I'm not 100% sure. Which is a Neverborn list.
Yep.
Which runs the Hunger in Darkness.
Oh, yep.
A Terratop. Primordial Magic. And Nakima. It seems to be doing the same kind of thing.
Yeah, so they're kind of lists where you've taken your henchman and another nasty model and then a couple people to make up the numbers that aren't super good, but really doesn't matter. They can score objectives or the objective or hold things up or whatnot, but they're not really the key. One I found that looked quite interesting was Candy with Fear's Given Form, Iggy an Illuminated, and Mr. Tannen with Depression. Because you're going to be fighting over that middle of the board and you're very close to the enemy straight away, you've got lots of models there that are manipulative, so hard to target, and you've got lots of models there that can manipulate turn order and when your opponent has to activate, and then Candy punishes that with her Sweets and Sours ability, which sort of does damage and hands out various things depending on if it's the first model or the last model that your opponent activates. And that looked quite nice as an idea. I just found that just someone chatting about that on Reddit and said they found it so nasty that they stopped using it because it pissed everyone off.
See, I found someone that's got something a bit similar, but in Outcasts.
Okay.
Rusty Alice with Survivalist.
Yeah.
Librarian.
Oh, I love the Librarian. Oh.
Johan.
Okay, yeah.
And a Ronin. So their reasoning for this: if you've got 3 models with hard to kill.
Ooh, yeah.
2 with healing.
Yeah.
Alice has got armor as well, so she's fairly tough.
Yeah.
All of them have a discard a card for an extra attack.
Yeah, cool. Which, as you've only got 4 models, you're not maybe keeping as many cards back.
So that makes that kind of good.
Yeah. Or you're not burning through your hand as much, so yeah, you'll probably have spare cards kicking about.
So you've got the Ronin that can ignore armor.
Yeah.
Alice and Johan can get a plus on damage, and Librarian ignores incorporeal, so you can get around quite a lot of things that way.
Yeah, that's a good thought.
And Alice prevents charging.
Yeah.
The Librarian removes enemy suits.
Yeah.
And Johan can remove conditions.
Oh, that's absolutely brutal. Where did you find this? I think we should give a shout out to whoever's come up with this.
This is just on the weird forums.
Okay.
In the Henchman Hardcore crew discussion and Tactica.
Cool.
By Cadeton? Kadeton.
Cool. But well done, because that sounds really horrible.
Amazing.
Yeah, I might have a go at that because I've got all of those models.
I was kind of hoping you didn't.
Yeah. I don't have Johan. I have Johanna.
Right, that doesn't count.
Yeah, I ordered in the sale, and it counts as Johan in every way. In every way. It says so on the thing.
You will run that against the
ridiculous Oxfordian Mages of Doom.
Yeah. See how that goes.
With a forest in the middle of the board, just so they can't shoot me.
We'll see.
Cool. I'm going to take that as a yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I think one of the fun things about this as well is it was for me a way of dusting off models that I don't normally use.
Yeah, especially when you're not committing to hours of using them as well.
Sometimes you get something or something you've not used and you're like, well, I could use it, but it's going to take me 3 hours to play this game. I kind of want the best chance of winning. Whereas, if you're playing something small and quick, you can throw a list together really, really quickly and just give it a try. And you might try something weird. You might try an odd combination, a slightly janky convergence of abilities, or just try some of those models that you like me. I've got lots of models I've bought because I like the look of them, but I don't play with them much.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to actually get to use everything you've bought.
Yes,
at some point.
yeah.
And yeah, like you said, small games, quick, brutal fun. Doesn't necessarily give you an insight into how great they'd be on a larger game because of the close quarters aspects of it.
Yeah.
But if you can engineer that situation, then you've still got the same kind of thing going on.
Yeah, barring movement shenanigans like Joe managed to engineer, generally it's a melee crew focused activity because you're going to be sort of charging at each other and meeting in the middle. Or if you've got sort of a gun line, you're going to be sort of getting a turn of shooting. And then it becomes melee, so they're not as sort of as effective in that way. But there's definitely it's definitely fun to be had. I really enjoyed it. I don't know about you, but I had a great time playing that particular evening.
Yeah, I'd like to play a fair bit more of it. I think just because we can get multiple games in, and it's quite good.
Yeah, and a good way, as I said, of testing out various things because. You can chuck pretty much anything in there and just see how it does. Get an idea, even if you're learning a new box. using the henchmen and the minions from that box in isolation, just to get an idea of how they're working and what they're doing. It can be useful for that as well. Would you recommend it for people that are trying to teach Malifaux, to spread the joy of Malifaux to their gaming groups?
Yeah, well, I think it works really nicely as a very quick, easy way to introduce people to games without it feeling like you're playing a horribly cut down version, like GW style.
Yeah. Quite,
because you're not missing rules out or anything like that.
Yeah, quite often with sort of starter games or condensed version of games, that you're not learning the whole game. And I know that winds you up, Joe. You talked about that before, where you prefer to play with all the rules in place straight away, so that you're getting that kind of that full grasp.
I mean, I love what the Malifaux starter set does.
Yeah,
because it builds you up, and adds a few rules at a time. I think it's slightly slow paced in certain areas, but I don't think it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
And the beauty of the starter set is something that we discussed earlier, is that actually has essentially Henchman Hardcore crews in it.
Yeah.
Which I think is a brilliant idea from Weird, whether or not that was designed that way or not.
Yeah, both of them contain 19 points of models with upgrades, and then you could chuck on another faction-based upgrade or similar in there for a point and get yourself to the 20.
Yeah, so that's perfect. And they're quite nice little thematic ones. So if you've just, fallen in love with the Crazy Doctors after playing through the scenario missions in the starter set, then cool, take that with you.
Yeah, you could turn up to a game night or similar without having to get any more stuff or start to learn the more complicated aspects of the game with masters and things, and go, does anyone want a game of Henchman Hardcore? I've got my 2 crews.
Yeah. Which
would be really, really nice, actually. It's a nice way of bridging that gap. So yeah, we hadn't realised that's what they'd done.
No, but that's genius.
So yeah, well done to them, because I think that's a nice way of, especially if you're on a budget, you've got your 8 starter models, but then what do? Well, bring in the full rules, play some Henchman Hardcore, maybe go find some other people to play. Or
if you're introducing it to a group with Henchman Hardcore, being able to say, cool, well, we only need to build up to this level.
Yes, yeah.
So a single box, a crew box, or even a few individual boxes if you don't want to build a specific crew for it.
Yeah.
Works really nicely to then expand into bigger games later as well.
Yeah, because one of the things we did talk about actually was when you start with Malifaux, for us the biggest thing that caused us headaches wasn't the mechanics of the game as such, but it was the strategies and the schemes.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're quite complex, and you've got multiple choices to make, and that you make at the beginning of the game. And quite often, when you're new, you're being asked to make choices that you don't really understand the repercussions of.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
So this narrows it down nicely to, cool, we're introducing Assassinate and Turf War. Learn how they work, and get your head around the idea of you're looking to score 2 separate things and stop your opponent from scoring those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a really nice step potentially for new people, and also maybe a way of reinvigorating your Malifaux nights if you want to squeeze a bit more into your time. So what are we going to say, Joe? Are we going to give this a critical hit or a critical miss?
I would say Henchman Hardcore is definitely a critical hit. It is very, very good. As well, for all the reasons we've just said, to be honest.
It's not going to form the backbone of your Malifaux hobby. It's not going to replace your normal games forever.
No, but it's a very, very good distraction and a way of breathing a bit of new life into it.
Yes, definitely. So we are agreed. I agree with you totally. I wasn't 100% sold on it, actually, I have to admit.
Before we played?
Yeah, because we were doing it to help introduce a friend, and it felt a little bit like taking a step back, but actually it was a fun step back, because it's sort of step back but a change of perspective, and it felt sort of fresh and lively and fast, which I really, really liked.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of that in in wargaming nowadays,
No, wargaming.
everything is pushing to be bigger.
Yeah, bigger.
More.
I think that. Do you think that's down to companies wanting to sell more models?
Oh, I think it's completely sort of corporate driven, as it were.
Yeah, because I remember working for Games Workshop when the Apocalypse idea came out, which was put all your models on the table and here's some giant tanks, and it doesn't matter what you got, use everything and buy loads of stuff. And that was quite clearly, and it was admitted by those the powers that be, that it was there to sell more models.
Yeah.
So, I can't begrudge a company. Companies want to make profit. They want to survive and pay their staff. That's fine. But it's nice to have something that's maybe a little bit faster, a little bit quicker than... It was almost like playing... more like playing a sort of quick pick-up board game than anything else. Because you, again, in Malifaux, you pick your crews, don't you, at the start of the game. With this, if you go to a tournament, you play the same crew all the way through, and if not, you just pick. You don't because you don't need to change anything based on the schemes and strategies because you know what's going on. You know how far away you're going to be from the enemy, so it's just fairly easy to just go. All right, crew three Oxfordian mages and the captain, make Brian cry again.
Yeah. To be fair, I might change that up a little bit.
Can you make it worse? I mean,
I could put
better.
Joss in instead of the captain.
Oh, I think I just died a little inside.
Gives you a really big rock to sit in the middle while the mages shoot round it. With all the defensive upgrades as well.
Oh no. On that note...
Oh, yeah. Well, Brian scours the internet for something that can beat it.
Well, I was thinking maybe of Hannah, Lazarus and 2 Freikorpsmen for all of the blast and knocking out your suits when Hannah gets close.
Yeah, I can see that being good.
Yeah, could be useful. Could be good. Probably not in the same ballpark though.
I don't know. I think positioning comes down to
there is more skill than just. I think it's more list based than maybe normal Malifaux, but there is skill on how you use these things definitely. So if you were at home or on the bus or dead in a car park, wherever you may be listening to this, if you've got any really, really good Henchman Hardcore lists that you've tried, or even if you've just theorised some, let us know, because I need something really, really good to beat Joe with.
Mm-hmm.
Preferably Guild Arcanists, not Arcanists. Oh,
preferably not Arcanists, essentially.
Yeah, preferably anything but Arcanists. I could probably make quite a lot of that. Rezzers I'd struggle for, and Goblins, but most other things I could make stuff in. So yeah, if you've got any suggestions for me on how to beat Joe's ridiculous line, or you've just got some really good lists that you'd like to share, then please get in touch. You can comment wherever you found this, or you can email us at criticaltwits@gmail.com, and we might share some of them next time we speak of Malifaux in about a month's time.
Yeah, or just come throw us lists on the Facebook page.
Yes, yeah.
It's a great way for other people to comment on them as well.
Yeah, if you want to put them up for critique, we have a Facebook page. If you just search Critical Twits on Facebook, it will pop up, and you can join us. We occasionally share what I think the youth refer to as dank memes. Is that correct, Joe? You're quite young.
Am I?
You're young. You're younger than me.
I don't know if having hit 30 counts as quite young anymore.
Oh, you're 30, aren't you?
I am.
Oh God. So yeah.
Quick, let's go ask Colin.
Yes.
Drag him out the bin.
So next week on the Old Man Podcast, the best ways to eat soup.
Straws.
Young people, what are they about then, eh? And other things.
Yes.
Cool. So thank you very much for listening. I've been Brian Ennis.
And I've been Joe Lewin.
That has been Monthly Malifaux for the month of March 2017. We'll be back next month with another Malifaux podcast, but we'll be back every week in between with something to do with the world of tabletop gaming, from RPG basics, learning how to play and run tabletop role-playing games, to our Netrunner coverage or our board talk, where we just kind of kick back and have a chat about board games. So if any of that sounds good, you can come along, subscribe, and then you'll see it pop up, and you'll know, and you can listen, and it'll be fun.
honest.
I'm really good. I should have gone into marketing, shouldn't I? Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.